Welcome to the Linebreak Rugby podcast. Usually on Monday, but also usually not. I am hosting, potentially, today. I'm Ed, or WallopyJoe, and we also have Fov. Say hello, Fov.
G'day.
That sounds delayed because he's speaking from miles away. And we have Euan, or HMFC.
Yep.
Right, so should we get on with it again then?
Yes.
After multiple attempts, yes.
This is number 4 now. It's going very well. I can't look anything up, potentially, because I think the reason Skype died last time was because I was looking stuff up on the phone as well. But let's skip over the whole talking about the Highlanders, so Fob can no longer have his moment in the sun, and just have a crack at the game that finished an hour ago with the Chiefs versus the Lions, which the Lions won. I feel like starting off on a more entertaining angle, and I understand that Fov has a few complaints, and quite frankly, I would love to hear them.
No. I got it all out of my system in the post-match. I didn't even have a rant. It was just more, yeah, wankers.
Damn stuff.
You can't dig deep and bring any of it back up.
No, it's all good. I mean, it was very much
in that
a
case,
moment.
Yeah. No, that's fair. In that case, just because Sav isn't here to fight his corner, I feel we should fight it for him. So let's just go with how bloody good is Jack Noel now? Where was that form last week? I'm so pleased for him.
Or against the Blues, yeah.
Now, I have to ask, was he the one in the headgear?
Yes, he was one of the 2 players in blue headgear. So It's often confusing who is who and who is where.
That's all right. I did see him, and I thought he was much better.
Yeah, I'm sure that can be put down to the end of the season and the flying and the unfamiliarity at the beginning of the tour, but he is finally looking to be in the same form that he ended the regular season on. And what was it? The first try is apparently something he does quite often. He gets the piss taken out of him a bit for stealing forwards tries. But that second one was absolutely lovely.
A winner shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you can sort of see how he came in rusty to the first game against the Blues, because he was playing in that Premiership final.
Yeah.
And the word is he went out in Exeter for the celebrations.
Went
out
on the
bus
lash.
ride. Yeah, went out on that, and then that was like on the Monday, and then his flight was on the Tuesday, so he got a taxi all the way from Exeter to London Heathrow.
Yeah.
And then he got the flight out with all the rest of the Lions to Auckland. So he didn't get any sleep that night, and then he was having to fly straight after that as well.
Yeah, he's turned it up, which was rather excellent. In fact, I think just about the entire back line did pretty well, but the back 3 were absolute standouts.
Yeah.
And Dan Biggar. I've been really impressed by Dan Biggar this tour. I mean, I'm generally of the opinion that he's a bit of an angry and petulant little git, but hearing the interview with him before the match, he's certainly gone up in my estimations a fair bit, and he has played extremely well on this tour.
That's just your prejudiced views of Welsh
Absolutely,
people.
it has to come through at some point, so why not get it out of the way early?
But the forward pack was doing well. The line-out was performing better than it was with this group of players the last time they played. Best had a wobbly few minutes in the second half at the start, but I think they got through that. Yeah, they were far better than the last time.
Yeah.
And
Marler
also being an idiot wasn't great.
Clearly, it's the result of more time to gel together as a team. And what this indicates, I feel you'll both agree with, is that the tour should have been extended by about 5 games, so that all the players could have grown into their top form, and maybe even an extra 10 games. Just shorten up the season a bit and get in a few more players. Lordsbury definitely would have got in if that was the case. But
would you just make?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. You would just get rid of all club rugby then.
Absolutely.
And just make these players perpetual slaves to the national team.
Well, I think Dan Cole already is that.
Yeah.
But I think it's becoming. I don't know what it is, because when the Lions toured Australia 4 years ago, they seemed to gel maybe it's just that the opposition we're playing at the moment is just a level above. But they seem to gel as a team much quicker last time round. Whereas they're finally hitting stride. And thank God it's coming in time for the first test. The slight issue with that is New Zealand normally have, a small 20 or 30 minute period of just blowing away the cobwebs. And they did that in spectacular fashion at the end of last week against Samoa.
Yeah.
So he might be
absolutely demolished them. Fob, you watched that game.
Oh yeah.
How dangerous are the All Blacks again?
Well, I think I'm in two minds about it because they just absolutely thrashed Samoa in the end, and I do like seeing cricket scores in games, but you do wonder how much do you really learn from that. Like, okay, we know they can attack really well, we know they can hit people really hard, and they can read the play, and it all seems quite instinctual, which is great, but after watching the Lions sort of improve game by game, I'm thinking, man, this is going to be interesting. That New Zealand team so far haven't really met that rush defence very well, with the exception, in my opinion, of the Highlanders, who still struggled but managed to work around it. But it's really been a big issue, and I think going into the test match, I don't think that's going to change, and I wonder if we'll struggle.
Yeah, I kind of think you're being a bit... I get that I'm usually the pessimist, but I think you're grossly underselling the All Blacks there. Especially, I don't see much of New Zealand rugby, but I was so excited at the idea of Lynette Brown outside Sonny Bill Williams. And it sounded like that came off to perfection. And so while I've only seen the highlights of that match, I am so excited. I've been saying this a lot. I don't rate our chances too well, but I am so excited for the tour just because the idea of the rugby that's going to get played excites me. And so the idea of those two playing midfield against the Lions, I think sounds fantastic just from a spectator's point of view.
Yeah.
And going by how they played on Friday, the excitement's getting even higher. So it's throwing some of the other players, and it's that said, Dag's likely in the team, isn't he?
Yes.
And I don't think he had a great showing against the Lions when he played for whoever he played for.
Yeah, with the Crusaders.
For the Crusaders.
Yeah.
He's only just back.
He definitely didn't seem himself, but the entire Crusaders team didn't see themselves, and that might sound like I'm making an excuse, but I do think it was hugely due to the pressure the Lions put on them. They were just absolutely swamped.
I think it's...
Do you think that...
Oh, carry on.
Do you think the Crusaders pack, that is basically the All Blacks pack, will step up for the tests, because the Lions pack really sort of dominated them, and that was them finally sort of clicking, and that's the one area that the Lions will be targeting to sort of like have an advantage, and have Krutoji jump in the lineouts as well, see how that goes.
Yeah, that's definitely probably the only concern, but it is the big concern. I mean, the backs looked a lot better in this recent game against the Chiefs, but until then I hadn't really thought, well, no one in the back line is really threatening for the Lions, so if there's parity in the forward pack, we're going to run rampant with the back line. But the Lions pack is pretty bloody impressive the more I watch it.
Yeah,
I mean, just as an aside, someone who I'm really impressed with is that Henderson. I thought initially in his first game, I thought, oh geez, I hope he starts because we'll walk over him, but he gets better and better, doesn't he?
He has massively stepped up. I've been really impressed. He is one of the players that I thought didn't deserve their inclusion in the team. And while I do still think, on reflection, I still don't think he deserved it on, the past season or so. But he has so clearly justified his place in the squad to the point where I'm going to sound like a stuck record, but I think it's there are players who I'm sure will show up in the test team who I think, if you even ignoring my horrendous amount of bias and prejudice against certain players, I think certain people will still show up in the test squad that on the basis of the form of the last few matches don't deserve it for whatever reason, and I think Henderson or Laws absolutely deserve to be in the number 19 shirt for the test, just because it's the work rate that both of them are showing is damn near Herculean. Laws, I think, is putting in a stake for one of the players of the tour. Henderson's impact, in fact, both of their impact coming off the bench would be almost unrivaled, and so I think they would be a better option, especially with leaders all over the pack. And the rest of the team, I don't think they're too necessary on the bench, and so Laws, I think, might be hurt because he's now had 2 HIAs in the past 2 games.
Henderson's probably further ahead than Laws at the moment.
But Henderson he's massively stepped up, and I've been really impressed by him. Still gutted Launchbury isn't in the team, and I will continue to peddle that opinion until time itself stops. But with the options there are, I'd be absolutely fine with him making a cameo in the tests. He'd deserve it.
So, who do you think is going to be the starting scrum half for the All Blacks? Is Aaron Smith reclaimed his place, or is TJ Paranara still trying to hold on to that place that he got for a few games?
I think that even though Aaron Smith isn't quite at his best, he was nearing it during the Highlanders season prior to the Lions break. He was playing really, really good rugby, and he had a couple of complete brain farts against Samoa where he threw a pass. I think he was meant to go to Leonard Brown, but it just went directly out and took a quick tap. He did something silly anyway. He made a couple of stupid mistakes, and then he was subbed afterwards, and TJ carried on and played wonderful with his support lines. I do think that Aaron Smith is pretty much key to the All Blacks, their back line just unlocking everyone else. And I think Perenara, love him, think he's a great player, but I don't think that pass is on the same level. Aaron Smith is just far and away above everyone else with that particular aspect, and it's such a key to set everyone else free in the game, because he'll launch a pass from the ground across 4 players, all of who could grab it, and it's going directly to the person he wants to, and it just puts everyone in 2 minds about what's happening.
You'll have to watch the Lions pack though, because today you saw Finley Christie kept on getting targeted and targeted after line. Now it's and it was big locks like Laws and Henderson coming in. Well, more actually the flankers coming in and nailing them. But I guess Aaron Smith is more experienced, so he'll be able to deal with it. But he'll better be at his best.
If he does if he gets hounded, that pretty much nullifies him, because as we've all seen, he is nowhere near as big as say Kerbalo or Perenara, and if he gets grabbed, he's not going forward. So as you say, that if those big locks get in his face, he could pretty much be nullified. That sort of brings back to what you said before. If the All Blacks pack can step up compared to their showing in the Crusaders outing.
Yeah. Is Reid looking like he'll be back, or is he out for this first test?
Oh, I hope he is.
That's a good question, actually. I'm not too sure. I remember saying he wanted to be in Samoa, and then it just wasn't going to work out. What's happening with him?
So it's probably going to be RD Sevilla at number 8.
Well, I thought...
Or Kane, I know.
Had I not read that Reid... because it was just a thumb, wasn't it? So it's not... But I trust... It's, again, Reid is one of those players that I think it must have...
well,
I don't think it was on a pod, it was just our chat.
I'm reading an article here, and it says he's running around in contact and training, so should be...
he's got to start.
There.
Again, he's one of those players I hope starts, just because I enjoy watching him play.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned to you the other day, I said he was probably my favourite ever All Black, and perhaps that might be a bit far, but certainly as far as the forwards go, there is just so much about him as just a player and a bloke that he just seems fantastic.
Thinking about how he plays though, having a broken thumb or something like that could be really bad for him, because he likes chipping and going, he loves his offloads and things like that.
He loves leaping into the air and snatching crossfield kicks.
Yeah, if his ball handling game isn't up to it, it's maybe reason to rest him a little bit longer and make sure it's fully recovered. Yeah,
I reckon he'll go fine.
I hope so. He's very much a quiet achiever in that, like Artie Sevilla has lots of bustling runs, but it's the little subtle things that Kieran Reid does day in, day out that make him such a great player.
Here's the thing. Who do you think, or what? Because I know you wrote something up for the Highlanders game. What do you think will be specifically for the first test, what do you think would be the most even battle position to position, and what do you think will be the most lopsided, both for and against either team? Just because I think at the moment our front row might be just in the best form ever, but I can't imagine our wings holding up to your wings very well.
Yeah.
I would say if, say Naholo starts, whoever he's marking just won't be at the same level.
Yeah.
That's not so much against them, it's just that Naholo is currently a class above everyone else.
And until today, our wings haven't shown the best of form.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're always... Yeah, there's no dead certain winner as well. Like, George North hasn't been great in defence either, so it's like... I was sure if he'd be up against Naholo, would he? No. He wouldn't be on the same win. Would he?
Is he?
Nah, I'm not. George North would be on opposite win from Naholo, wouldn't he?
Pass?
Because, yeah.
So Naholo's usually a 14, isn't he? And George North is 14?
Yeah,
so
it's
they're
so they'd be opposite
yeah.
sides.
Yeah, they would be right.
Wait, isn't
Alright.
George North for... has he not been playing 11? For the last couple of matches? It's...
I don't know. But he didn't have the greatest defensive display against the Maori All Blacks, so that's like one concern as well.
I mean...
Not being able to track back and sort of... Did he take out Lee Halfpenny as well? Like when they were both trying to go back for that ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Completely fluffed it. I mean, in fairness, in the last hour or so, I've been really ragging on George North and bigging up Noel, Williams and Daly. But in fairness to him, while he has had a howler, Noel had been having howlers before today, and he's massively stepped up. So maybe North does pull it out of the bag for the big occasion, which he has done in the past.
The thing is that's annoying about North is that he doesn't go looking for the ball like Noel does, and that's what really frustrates you. You know he's there, but he doesn't usually get involved, and he just waits for someone to give him the ball.
Yeah.
He doesn't come inside, so that's why they probably played a bit centre for ages.
But I mean,
that didn't turn out too well.
All of our outside backs today were looking for work or creating work, because Payne, I didn't think much of Henshaw, but Payne did so much better than his last showing. I said already the back three were amazing. The link play between Williams, Daly and Noel to score, I want to say 2 of the tries, but now I can't remember. Certainly the first one, or Noel's second rather, was just...
Yeah.
It was so fluid, and you kind of get the impression that was all in spite of Rob Howley instead of because of him. But I don't know enough about his tactics to, really call it, unless he's been playing the best long con in the history of all confidence tricks ever.
Rob Howley wouldn't be recruited for like a championship team if Reddit had its way though. So like he wouldn't be like picked as a coach for them.
Yeah, but I mean it's I do think it's interesting that it's not just the English and the Scots and the Irish that are ragging on him. It does seem to be completely bipartisan across the board, that the Welsh are completely fed up of him as well. And yet you've got to wonder where is that kind of attacking play that happened today because of Howley or in spite of him, and just down to the fact that these players are, in their own right, extremely good runners and ball carriers and try scorers.
Well, Noel's just good instinctively when it breaks up to an extent. Like his second try was just in broken play, so you can sort of say that's him. One of the tries where, what was it? Liam Williams made that break and then passed out to Elliot Daly.
Yeah,
was that?
That was Noel's first.
Yeah.
That led to Noel's first try. I think.
Second try.
Second
the first
try. Yeah,
was
sorry.
In the first half, and that was when they were at a ruck and he picked a goal, went. But it was sort of like a counter attack, and it was just a quick ball, and I'm not sure how much coaching that was.
Yeah. You do have to wonder though. I don't think it's particularly likely we're going to see that against New Zealand. I don't think their defence will let that happen.
Yeah. I'm surprised there were so many Chiefs players that played for the Maori All Blacks, and Tim Dana Williams, who was playing against New Zealand, was in that Chiefs team, and then I guess he might be called up by Samoa to play Wales.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of an ask.
Yeah,
It'd be quite
I'd
something.
be surprised. But yeah, he's gonna have a tough week if he gets called up for that game as well.
Yeah.
I've been quite impressed with him in the past. I think it must have been the World Cup. I really quite enjoyed watching him play.
What, against Scotland?
I can't remember.
I think he got one of the tries against Scotland in the World Cup, and that was like, that put us in a dangerous situation for a while where Samoa looked like they might beat us.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to load up the. Ben Smith had a great game, didn't he?
Yeah, he
Ben
did,
Smith.
He had another really
yeah.
studious display.
Captain the team as well, didn't he? Oh,
Yeah, he
actually,
did.
there is one thing I just desperately need to bring up with Fov, because it's watch. I don't think it must have been just the highlights I saw it in. Bowden Barrett is just gonna cut through the Lions like a line through like ribbon, and I'm as again he is. It's I adore watching him play. It's just fun. It's fun watching him run, and I need to know what you thought of his first try against Samoa, because it was one of my favourites in a while. Because he leapt onto the ball. It must have been really, really wet that day, because he leapt onto the ball like 5 or 10 yards short of the line and just glided all the way over. And there is something so magical about watching some of these people play, and yeah, what a try.
He did it a couple of times in that game. I think the first one that you mentioned, and there was a second one in the second half where he does the sliding over again. I thought he was just trying to see how far back he could start his slide, and just try and push it. Maybe get to the 10-meter line. And he's a wonderful instinctual player. And I think going back to what your question before, position-wise, man for man. Where are the advantages? I suppose whoever's marking Bowden Barrett has their work cut out for them, even though I'd say there are better kickers from the tee, probably offhand as well, and probably running the game. Just ball in hand though, no one matches him. So
well, that's it. It's if Farrell or Sexton or Bigger do get a tackle in on him, I think they'll stop him. The issue is if they can get a tackle on him.
Yeah,
because
yeah, definitely.
Because there's so much I rate R10s for, and yet Barrett got Player of the Year last year for the what was it, World Rugby Player of the Year?
Yeah,
I want to say, and he clearly hasn't dropped a beat. He's still got that pace, he's still got the hands, he's still got the feet. It's just so it's in a one-on-one, as much as particularly Farrell, who I think is certainly at the moment probably the best defensive 10 in the world, and all three of them they'll nail all their kicks all day long, just about, but in the face of Barrett running at them or around them, because Barrett isn't the type of player to run through someone. He doesn't have that Maori sidestep.
He chips over them.
But he'll just dance around any of them, and so I think he's got to be the biggest threat facing the team.
I think he could be the undoing of the Lions' rush defense, because his little chip and chases could be like one of the most dangerous aspects of his play, like putting the Lions back on the back foot, and I'm a little bit worried about that. Thinking about it, I'm not sure. It might work if worked against a lot of the other Super Rugby teams, but maybe not against Barrett.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching, the midweek games in particular, and just praying that someone drops a little chip in. It was just begging for it, and
because all our defences are that's a very solid line, but it can be what's the word I'm looking for? Exploited. It can be exploited very easily with a good chip kick, but they don't seem to be happening too much.
No, I mean, again, the Highlanders did it a couple of times and it worked. The Lions caught on to it pretty quickly and started adjusting for that, but it did take a toll on their line speed, and the game became a lot less attritional in that sense, which I think worked in the Highlanders' favour. But Would have liked to see other teams try it. The Crusaders just almost refused to. But
Yeah.
I guess that's you could put that down to just the pressure. Having those big brutes in your face for 80 minutes is probably hard to think on your feet so much.
Mm. The Crusader side was basically the Maori and the Test side, wasn't it? For the Lions, that is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Who do you? Here's one. While we take a quick break from the absolute love-in over some of the Kiwis, which I'm more than happy to continue afterwards, by the way. Sonny Bill Williams. Who particularly for you? And I suppose today would be more relevant, I suppose, because the midweek team play today. But from the team that played the Maoris and the Crusaders will likely play the Test, who do you think has stood out as being, actually he's quite scary?
I don't know if Dan Cole is going to be there. I don't know enough about him or what the other props are like, but shit, he's terrifying. His work rate,
Yeah,
and just the prop life in general, he seems awesome.
he's got to be one of the most reliable players we have. He might give away one or two penalties, but especially even though he looks completely spent by about 30 minutes, he's still absolutely charging about at 60 or 70.
Yeah.
And I think he got cheap shotted near the end of the match. And I think he got taken.
I saw a lot of people comment about it.
He got taken right around the neck. In fact, he got taken around the neck last time he played as well. But it was I've seen this is against both sides, both against the New Zealand sides and against the Lions. I've seen a huge number of neck rolls happening right in front of the refs, and especially, I'm sure we've mentioned this before, but around the World Cup, they were so hot on those, neck roll, yellow card, and then the moment the World Cup finished, none of the refs seemed to give a shit.
It wasn't a neck roll. It was like he got grabbed by the neck and taken to the ground by he sort of got lifted up and pinned to the ground by Liam Messam rather than a neck roll.
Yeah, and then because I'm pretty sure I've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger take care of people like that in movies. It happened right in front of the ref, but then he got up and he just completely bossed the next scrum, like completely unfazed. And so that, in fact, just bring it to the scrum quickly. I find it, with all the furore over the players that shouldn't have been called up, I think it's bizarre that none of them really got any time on the pitch. Dell did when Marler got yellow carded, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the. He played well for Marler's sin binning, and yet he didn't get brought back on later on. I thought was a bit puzzling.
I think it was.
I'm sure there is already considerable backlash that they are in the team anyway, and so perhaps that would have been even more so if they got onto the pitch. But I don't know.
One of the interesting parts was when they brought on Alwyn Jones for Courtney Law's HIA.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people were thinking, why are they bringing on Alwyn Jones? Because he's maybe going to be in the Test team.
Yeah.
And probably is, because he was on the bench for most of the game. And they brought him on rather than Corey Hill, who was meant to be there for those sort of incidents. And I've heard people saying that they wanted to just sort of have them these recent call-ups,
have them
just in case. But they don't want to sort of snub the players that were in the original tour. So they'll probably be there for this game and maybe the Hurricanes game.
Yeah.
But they'll just be there in the background, and they'll probably get sent home afterwards.
It just seems so incredibly negative in so many aspects. I mean, I don't want. I know I can be incredibly negative on the pod sometimes, and so I will try not to go too heavily into it. But I do think it is just a bit peculiar that if you are gonna call up those players, why not put them on anyway? And if you're not going to put them on, then what was the point in calling it? And it just comes back to, well, why not just call up players who were worth it and actually put them on for a decent amount of time? Because imagine if players like, Barkley or Watson or Launchbury or even one of the Currys or Wade or if imagine one of them getting brought on with 30 to go to rest some of the players who perform well and could potentially put in a shift for the Test match with other good players who deserve a shot to just carry on that that form. I'm not bitter about it, I swear. I feel like I'm not moderating this very well. We're not flowing very well, I feel. Let's what? I mean, we could focus on... Oh, you know what we could focus on very briefly? And it would really just be a segue so that I could talk about England some more. But I was going to mention Scotland against Australia.
Yep, I'm happy we're talking about that.
Because that was a good... I've seen the highlights of that match are very nice. The tries Scotland scored were absolutely... It's how often do you suppose it is now that Scotland have gotten an intercept against Australia?
It's quite, well, not just against Australia, it's against a lot of teams, because Tommy Seymour just looks for them all the time. I know he wasn't playing for that game, but it's just part of like Gregor Townsend's tactics almost now, like for when they're defending and they're like looking like they're going to be outnumbered on the outside, they just go for the intercept rather than think about trying to take an impossible tackle.
Yeah.
It was Duncan Taylor who got the intercept, and Finn Russell got that charge down as well, so that helped us a lot.
That's speaking of Finn Russell, I know he played the full 80 the other day, but I'm sure he could have come on and given a bit of a rest.
Did you see him on the bench? He looked bored as anything.
I'm not surprised.
Daily, and like he was just like looking around to see if he could get on, and they weren't having the ball at all. I guess that's like, you can't really put out Dan Biggar, because Dan Biggar is like one of only 3 fly halves that they've got on the tour in the first place.
Yeah.
And like if Owen Farrell's injury gets any worse, he'll be the bench fly half for the tests as well. So that's maybe the thinking behind it. But yeah, I felt bad for Finn Russell when he could have been in Fiji with the rest of the Scotland squad.
Yeah, but that, I mean, wasn't that team was already going to be slightly depleted anyway, because he's taking over less players to Fiji, isn't he, than stayed in Australia?
What, like that were already in Australia, like not just Russell and Dell. Who did you think there was someone else that was leaving?
No. I'm sure I remember reading that is it Townsend? Was leaving behind a few more players. The charge down was very good as well.
And the best try though was Hamish Watson's try when they passed it out to the win, and Duncan Taylor was involved in that, and Greg Tonks, and it was nice stuff. They didn't get the ball out that much to the win, Scotland.
No,
but,
and you got absolutely murdered by Folau at one point when they didn't. Scotland had the most narrow defence. Actually, and his specky was quite nice as well. But it's exciting to see. It is, I suppose, interesting because Scotland contributed so little to the Lions tour. They had a fairly, almost but not quite full strength team against Australia.
There were quite a few injuries as well, so we didn't have like Reggie Gray.
Only one Gray,
Sean Maitland.
But it is at least I got to say, your record away to Australia is actually quite decent, because I'm pretty sure the last time you played Australia was in 2000 and I want to go 12 over there.
Yeah,
and
I think it was 2012.
One then,
that's when Al Strokush and Joe Ansbro clashed heads.
That was an hilarious celebration.
Yeah.
Actually, just because I feel like I need more of the accent, Fov, did you see any of the other international matches this weekend?
I actually didn't. I missed a lot of them. I was really gutted that I missed the Scotland-Australia one. I, for some reason, thought that Fiji were playing Australia 3 times. And don't ask me why.
That would have been mental.
Nothing to support that, but I just had it in my head, and I thought, I don't want to watch that again. And then Scotland turns up and wins.
Yeah. You know what you should have watched, though? Should have watched Argentina versus England.
You sent me the highlights for that. I still haven't watched that.
I've sent you the highlights for the first match, and I desperately want you to watch them because the highlights for the second match are almost as good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I will do it. It's not because I don't like you.
I made sure to watch the first half this morning before the Lions test, but I saw the Mike Brown.
How early did you wake up?
I got up at like 6:30.
Bloody hell! Yeah, that Mike Brown came into some rare form. It was amazing. Let's see, how did they end this? Well, that looked like blocking, to be fair.
How did they end the what?
I'm watching the highlights for the Australia-Scotland game, and I'm wondering, they managed to basically turn over the ball.
Yeah, they got a few turnovers.
Pretty good.
It's brilliant near the end. Like, it was actually brilliant in the Scotland-Australia game because Australia had the vast majority of the possession, and Scotland just hit back each time they got the ball, and it was like there was some impressive defenders as well. Like Ben Toulis, Aussie Scot, was quite important in the lineouts and things like that. And it was the Scottish back row was pretty good. Minus Ryan Wilson's penalties because he gave away like 5 or so. I got a sin bin eventually, but it was quite a good team effort in general.
Yeah,
because the forwards contributed quite a bit.
Which is good to know. It's nice to know they're on the up.
Yeah. But people always say that about Scotland, and then in the Six Nations we don't. Well, this year we did better than we've been usually. Like,
fair enough.
That was something to celebrate.
Oh, I'm reminded of something, and again, just because I feel like getting Fovi into the conversation because I feel like it's mostly me. Do I remember you saying the other day that you'd never really watched any proper competitive Northern Hemisphere matches, or was that somebody else?
No, that was me.
So you've never glanced over at the Six Nations or?
One?
Oh right.
What was that? Sorry.
So you've never watched the Six Nations match?
No, never watched Six Nations match.
I feel like you're missing out. Wow. I know that the general consensus of the Southern Hemisphere is that Northern Hemisphere rugby is shit. But there have been some really good games that I think even the grumpy Southerners could concede were decent.
I'd like to
footy.
see more. I think is it Saracens that they sound like a attack heavy team that can keep up with everyone else.
They are. Well, Saracens have fallen into just the best form over the last few years, and so lots of people trying to defend the Lions' performance and then adding the little caveats that if you send the full strength Saris down to New Zealand, they'd actually be competitive.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
And they may well be.
I think,
but
I do think Super Rugby gets, a little bit over the top, like the fan base. I don't think it's miles away the better competition. I think they're just two very different styles, and for whatever reason, people down here don't seem to like the 10-man rugby mentality, which, from what I understand, isn't as prominent as we'd be led to believe down here. No, and it's also a lot of it comes down to the fact that while running in tries from your own 5 meters it can be spectacularly glorious. There are so many matches that are just pure excitement, even if they're not particularly high scoring. Just because of the massive contest and the competition, one because of the rivalries, and 2 just because of how close some of the teams can be. The excitement can be there when maybe it's just the fact that it just comes down to giving a shit, and so if you don't care about the teams playing, you're not bothered as much. I think that could come into it as to why I haven't really sat down and watched it. I do like. I think if I learned more about the history and got to know some of the players and what makes them tick, I'd probably get more into it. I do need to sit down and just watch something because I have a nice connection with Ireland. I'd back them against almost any other country. Really like seeing them do well. I like the way they play, so I should watch some more of it. I'm just rugbyed out down here. Even our high school. No, stuff I can get that. I mean, in fairness, I can get rugbyed out after a short day of rugby, to the point where it's the England-Argentina matches these past 2 weeks have been at 8 p.m, and they've come a full day after the rugby has started, and so by the time they come around, as much as I've wanted to see us win, it's not been there because I've been completely spent cheering for other teams. So I suppose I can see the rugbyed out mentality when you have a lot more of the running stuff a lot more often.
Yeah, I found that with actually at the weekend with the Lions game. I kind of zoned out for the Lions game after watching the Scotland-Australia game. Because I had to get up at like 5:45 in the morning to watch that. But like it was such a great game, and the Lions game was like all forwards based, a bit dull in a way, to be honest. It wasn't as exciting as a lot of other games you'd see down in the Southern Hemisphere. we're showing you the pride of Northern Hemisphere rugby, Bob, with those sort of games.
I definitely don't mind that too much. I know. I mean, I'd join the bandwagon and say, it seems kind of dull. But I mean, if that's what it takes to shut out a team, then so be it. Now, if that's your style, and it works. I mean, if the Lions are able to do that and beat the All Blacks by just suffocating them, then shit, man, lesson learned. That's an effective strategy. And I might not find it exciting, but it's educational. And we can't really ask more than that, really. If we do get beaten, I hope it's a really strong performance.
Well, I can't imagine.
Did you watch the?
Oh no, you go on.
I was going to ask. Did you watch the Wales Tonga game?
Yes, I did watch that one.
Yeah, did you watch that? Yeah, like Wales were not at their best.
No.
Like Tonga kept it within 6 points until 60 minutes or something, or 50 minutes. Because I watched the first 20 minutes and then had to go off to work, so I missed the most of the game. But I was shocked that Tonga were holding it so close for so long.
Yeah, it seemed like Wales sort of clicked, but also I'd say fitness coming down to it. I don't think all the Tongan guys would have been match ready. I mean, not so much match ready. They're all playing footy, but I think it's just Wales are a different class, and it was good to see Cuthbert getting a bit of space. He's a bit of an athletic freak when he's actually on form, isn't he?
On form, he's absolutely amazing. But that form has seldom shown up over the last couple of seasons. Yeah. He's also injured now, I think, after that game, which is unfortunate.
Wales have got good winners at the moment coming through though, because they've got Steph Evans and Keelan Giles. They're not really lacking for electric winners. And then they've got Tom James as well, which halfway decent as well. So I'm surprised that Tonga didn't collapse early, because wouldn't they have a KFC stitch or something, because they popped out to the takeaway beforehand and then go to the game. That's what they're known for. Yeah. Because have you seen the Pacific Warriors documentary?
So good.
I've got that lined up.
I'm sure I told you to watch it the other day, didn't I?
Yeah, I got a message from you, and I think it was just a link to that, and I started it, but I wasn't at work, so
I think I've watched it twice now. It's really weird. Yeah. The way it starts, it's the weirdest start, because when I started watching it the first time round, I suddenly thought I'd selected the wrong thing on Netflix, because it is very. The first 5 minutes just seems like a very nature or natural life documentary before it actually gets into the rugby.
To be fair, some of it is a bit weird. Why did they have Randolph Fiennes to give a bit of commentary?
Yeah, they've got a few of them that you don't quite get. I think because was it David Hay was doing some of it as well?
Yeah, he was involved.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. You just had all these random celebrities saying, "Oh, the Pacific Islanders are freaks of nature" and all this sort of thing. And, brought to you by Charlotte Church. That she was in there, but whatever. It's just. It was weird in a way, but it was good when they had the players giving their interviews and that.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for teams like Tonga and Samoa, because they miss so many players. Samoa, they lose Ben Teo and Denny Solomona to the likes of England.
Yeah, that's a bit
even bunch.
But it's I think the biggest, well, maybe not the biggest thing, but one of the biggest things is, I suppose, is just funding and resources available to them. Because they do mention it in the thing where they've got Clive Woodward talking about the 2003 World Cup campaign, and taking every specialist with them that they can, if they think they need it, if they think it might be important, hire someone that's huge amounts of. They just talk about the chef, where anyone can go at any time. Whereas when you look at the Tongan team in, I think, the 2007 World Cup, they were just basically put up in some village in France. And while the whole village did basically adopt them as their own, it's that lacking the same fundamental kind of access to a lot of the resources.
Was it 2007 or 2011 they got sponsored by Paddy Power?
And they
basically had to dye their hair green or something.
Yeah, I think that was 2007 as well.
Yeah, just to get them to France.
Jeez.
But yeah, so yeah, that's worth a watch for you, Fof.
No, definitely. I have got it saved, so I can go back to that.
So, what other games are coming up on the weekend besides the Lions test?
Oh,
There's Samoa,
it's really,
versus Wales.
it's really disappointing. South Africa have somehow recovered their form. And I'm sure it's to the point where they are looking like they could get even better than they're playing at the moment, and it's horribly frustrating. Thank God we finally got a win in 10 years at the end of last year before they had their resurgence. Because while France have looked particularly undercooked, South Africa have still looked just completely out of their league.
Here's some breaking news, by the way. I've just seen this on Twitter. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it.
How breaking?
But Gavin Mortimer is saying that Toulon are being threatened with relegation.
Oh yeah, I just read that.
Yeah, for a $2 million euro hole in their finances.
Jeez.
And they are strict on that in the top 14. They've relegated several clubs from the Pro D2 for going bust. Like they relegated Dax, I think it was. And there's been teams that were threatened in the top 14 a while ago as well. They're much stricter than the Premiership with their salary cap and things like that. That'd be amazing if that happened.
That'd be sort of, I mean, watching from here, hilarious. but not so much for everyone involved, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
They
Then it's Pro D2 isn't like the Championship. It isn't like some sort of wilderness. Like it's actually got a big TV contract, and you get big crowds of like 10,000 people to games, and it's actually quite competitive. Like there was a photo I saw of Beziers versus Vannes game, and it was a nothing to play for game, right? And it was played at the end of the season, and they got something like 15,000 people in the stadium. Or 10,000 people. Jeez. It was ridiculous.
That's more than most Super Rugby, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I was joking. Damn.
More than most Pro 12 games.
Yeah. They did. Dear oh dear. Actually, that's a point. I'm sure they will, but if the stadium doesn't fill up and completely sell out for the Lions New Zealand matches, which I'm sure they will, but there's like a side of me that's ever so pessimistic that they won't. I think it'll be hugely disappointing.
They won't sell out the New Zealand match. The Lions New Zealand.
They should sell out, shouldn't they?
Because there's over like 30,000 Brits and Irish people going over.
Oh really?
I think.
That many?
Yeah.
That many? Bloody hell, that's a lot.
Oh, there was so many that even came down to Dunedin. They were just filling the place up. It was really cool to see. But they're just it put into perspective how many had come over, because not all of them would have travelled down here, but enough were to make that much bloody racket. So,
but I just remember 4 years ago, I'm sure I read that it topped out at about 25,000 travelling fans. So, or maybe 20,000. So if 30,000 have made their way down this year, that's incredible. But it's
like they won't all be there at once.
Well, that's true.
It's like,
how? So yeah, that is the one thing though. I think because I think it was most noticeable when I was in Brisbane for the first test. Just in Dunedin, how red was just the crowd in general.
Yeah.
Is it not extraordinary to walk around when there's like that level of support for a travelling team?
I finished work that day of the Highlanders match, and I was walking through the centre of town as the Octagon. It's got all the main pubs are in that shape, and I walked right through it on my way home, and it was just humming full of people. It was great.
Yeah, so you should have got. See if you can get. You said your girlfriend or your brother was potentially in a position to hook you up for the Highlanders match. See if they can do something and hook you up for a test ticket.
Oh jeez,
because
I don't have the connections don't stretch that far. Sadly, they're all very localised.
Not trying hard enough.
No, probably I need to get on my knees. Interpret that however you want.
I am. Don't worry. But it's that the atmosphere. It's because it's. I'm sure I've seen a few comments just on the sub of a few Kiwi saying that in the stadiums for the super teams that the atmosphere hasn't been as good as they were expecting, or has been a bit damp, and so for the test matches when the full crowd actually starts streaming in,
Yeah.
I'm hoping the atmosphere is all there.
No, I'm sure it will be. It's quite the event, and I think the travelling Lions fans have been really, really good natured. So I think that adds to it as
Yeah.
well.
In fact, I've got to say the Kiwis have been bloody good as well, because there was hasn't there been a huge campaign for local Kiwis to just basically offer up their couches to
Yeah,
any Lions fans coming over?
yeah. There's been quite a few of those people. That sort of like it's like a very ad lib couch surfing kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I know people. I've got friends that had put up people for the night or two when they were just the Lions fans had come over, and they made it known that they had a couple of couches free or a spare bedroom, and yeah, someone came along
Yeah.
and said, "Oh, sweet, I'll take that." And
That's just awesome. Need more of that.
yeah, I think it's definitely been well received. I'm pleased at how well received it was. I was worried that people would think back to 2005 and go, we cleaned up quite nicely. It's just another
Yeah.
bloody puffed up group, but no, it's been really good.
It's how are you feeling for the? Are you of the opinion that it's going to be a 3-0 embarrassment again, or do you think there's a chance that of what you've seen so far, competition might be slightly better than that?
The more I see of them, the more I think the Lions will definitely take at least one.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1 as well.
Mm.
Are you thinking similar, Ed?
I think it's possible, but there is. I think it's. I think I'm becoming more uncharacteristically pessimistic than usual, because I still think 3-0 is probably more on the cards than 2-1. I'm hoping for. Well, I mean, sod 2-1 or 3-0. I'm hoping for a 1-2 or a 0-3. But that third one's definitely not going to happen. And I think the chances of the Lions winning in Eden Park are so incredibly remote as to be completely non-existent, and so it does just come down to the one test.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I've been saying the whole time that I hope we win. I've been a miserable bastard about our chances. But so I think it'll be 3-0. We could take it, but I think on the day New Zealand will be too much for them.
You can't let the whole playing the All Blacks mentality get the best of us, but you'll be hoping that is the case, Fob. But that is like kind of a mental advantage the All Blacks have, because they've just built up this reputation that they're unbeatable.
Yeah.
Apart from if they're Irish that are playing.
It is true. The last time they lost at home was in what, 2009. And even then, that wasn't at Eden Park, was it? That was somewhere else.
I think Eden Park.
Eden Park goes back to the 70s or something. Well, I think something like that. At least the 90s. But they are
1994.
1994. Jesus Christ, that's absurd. Because I mean, it's the English we always try to pipe on about the fact that Twickenham is our fortress. But if you compare that to a 23-year record. That's something else, isn't it?
Yeah. Where was it that you got beat last?
So
if you put it a different perspective.
Where was the last time you got beat in New Zealand?
2009 by the French. 2000.
It was by the
2009.
Which stadium?
France was not Eden Park, but that was the last time they lost on home soil, I think. Which, again, an 8-year streak of not losing at home is absolutely absurd. Especially considering the fact... I mean, what is it? It's 2017 now. I think the one I always like peddling out is the fact that since they won the World Cup in 2011... so basically, before that, they lost to Australia in the Tri-Nations. But since then, they've drawn 2, lost 4, and won everything else that has been thrown at them. And over 6 years is just mental. And I always like coming back to it because of how impressive that stat is.
Yeah, it's impressive that they've got 2 draws and only 4 losses, because draws are so rare in rugby that you would think there would be no draws in that, or something like that. But I guess that's how close they take all these teams.
Yeah.
Oh well. So optimistic feelings for the weekend.
Yeah.
Well, optimistic from your
the
side.
first, in fact,
probably.
the first test is in Eden Park, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then it's not, and then the third test will be. See, again, that kind of fills me with more doubt. There's the side of me thinks that some of the players will need just the best showing of their lives. But throw in the bogey stadium, throw in first test match. I mean,
it's just the Kiwis being nervous that they picked Eden Park twice. They've got to go and rely on tradition.
Yeah.
That's,
what a bunch of pussies, hey?
Shaking their boots.
I suppose the other side. I'm trying to think. I suppose it's difficult comparing Lion tours in general. Though I suppose it's easy comparing this with 4 years ago because there are a few similar players and there is the same coach. Because what was it last in 2013? It was win lose win, and so perhaps a first test win isn't completely off the cards.
Yeah. I think they'll have to build into it, so I'll go for a second test win, but
that's the other interesting thing. It's that maybe I'm putting too much stock in the Eden Park thing, but I suppose it's the best the Lions are going to play, assuming they're not ravaged by injuries in the next week and a half, will be in the second and third test, and I suppose the same is also true for New Zealand. But I'm just thinking that I would have thought I think it's most likely I would have thought lose-lose-win would be, if there was going to be a 2-1 margin, it would be win-win-lose. Oh, sorry, lose-lose-win for us. But again, it's Eden Park, bogey stadium, not going to happen. But as I say, I might be putting too much stock in that.
Let's get off this depression train, and I think
let's talk about something good for like a minute.
Happy thoughts for a minute, because I've got to wrap things up because I've got to head to work soon. But
right, that's
yeah.
Happy thoughts for a minute. The Lions actually did quite well. Here's a fun thought. The Lions' current leading try scorers for this tour are Jack Nowell and penalty try.
Penalty try. Yeah.
How good is that?
I mean, it is quite funny, but I suppose you could argue. I mean, is that indicative of poor discipline with the New Zealand side?
Or just collective forward effort?
Yeah, I'm back in penalty try for the
because
win. He's a good boy.
The penalty try today could have been Henderson scoring it.
Yeah.
And I think the penalty try 2 games ago, I think Dan Cole, was it Dan? No, not Dan Cole. One of the props maybe. So I think that is just down to the fact that it's the forwards are in some absolutely fine form going forward. Not sure we'll get many of those against the All Blacks though. But if we can have
any more happy thoughts?
Happy thoughts.
I think you guys could be pretty pleased about how there was an attacking mindset in tonight's game, and come test match. Good.
I just want a GIF or a video of that, of like the entirety of Noel's second try, just because I think it was Haskell hit the ruck to get us the ball, and then it was Daly and Williams up the wing. Am I thinking of the right try? But yeah, just seeing Jack Nowell attack that broken line, just kind of lead off on the pass, not quite dummy it, but sell it enough that he can then glide through the gap.
He did pass it. It's went Mike Brown-esque.
Very, and so it's again. Well, I'm not sure we'll see too many of those in the coming weeks. It's so nice to have actually seen something like that, see a try like that being scored, and see Jack Nowell actually come into some form. I feel like we've been
seeing those guys do it will give them confidence as well. Understand that they can chance their arms and play instinctively because they've earned that now. They know they can do that.
Absolutely, and so going forward. So it's first test match on Saturday. Should be fun.
Oh well.
So we're going to call it a day then.
We'll call it a day.
All right then.
Good stuff. All right.
So that means post-production Sav is now. He's got the music playing.
Well done.
The music's the best bit.
And goodbye.
Yeah. So that was all right.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, we're all off then.
Yeah, I thought it went fine. We're all pretty. I don't know. It was a pretty casual one, but I think that's what we wanted too. Yeah. Yeah, almost to the bed. Alright, see you guys.